All right. So today we're going to do a deep dive into something pretty fascinating.
Okay.
And it's really the idea of building a business, but not just any business, one that's kind of built to outlast you.
Okay.
Right. So it's really about legacy.
Yeah.
And, most entrepreneurs, when they start out, they're driven by their own passions,
Right.
by their own needs.
Oh.
They want to solve a problem. They maybe want to be their own boss.
Right.
But what happens when those initial goals are achieved?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What happens when, you've solved that problem, or you've
Okay.
made enough money, or whatever it is you set out to do?
Yeah.
And, one of our sources uses this really interesting analogy,
Right.
talking about this idea of legacy driven entrepreneurship
Okay.
versus what we might call just intention driven entrepreneurship.
Right.
Right. So where you start.
Yeah. So you're transitioning from one to the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they use this analogy of a student named Bob and a group project.
Okay.
So Bob, classic overachiever, really driven,
Yeah.
wanted to control every little detail.
Okay.
And he was really focused on, having this perfect outcome.
Got it.
And that really was his driving force.
Yeah. So his intention is
It's-
driving the entire project.
But as the project went on, Bob's
Yeah.
need to control everything kind of started to backfire.
I can imagine. Yeah, I've seen that happen before.
Oh, have you?
Oh, many times. You run into that class
The
of
Bobs of the world.
the Bob, yeah, where, it's their way or the highway,
Yeah.
and, they're so focused on their vision that they kind of stifle,
Yeah,
everyone else's contribution.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in Bob's case, his need for control actually,
Yeah.
hampered the group's creativity, and
Yeah.
ultimately they had
Yeah.
this very lackluster presentation.
Right.
So what happened? Did Bob just continue down this path?
Well, thankfully, no. There was a turning point when another group member
Yeah.
suggested that they try a more collaborative approach.
Okay.
Really kind of open it up
Yeah.
to everyone's ideas.
Right.
But he was a little resistant at first.
Did that.
But I think he eventually realized that, letting go of some of that control was actually the key
Okay.
to really unlocking the potential of the group.
No, that's when the magic happened.
That's when the magic happened.
When they started collaborating.
Yeah, they embraced the collaboration,
Yeah.
allowed those diverse perspectives to come in,
Yeah.
and a final presentation
Yeah.
was night and day.
Oh, wow.
It was dynamic, engaging,
Okay.
and really a testament to the power of we over
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think this story is such a powerful reminder
Right.
that while, personal drive and intention are so essential for
Yeah.
launching a business.
Of course, you got to have that initial spark,
Right.
that fire in your belly.
But they can almost become a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to
Yeah.
a critical aspect of this shift,
Okay.
from me to we,
Oh, yeah.
because the source material describes how a founder's initial drive,
Right.
which is often rooted in, this desire for meaning, problem solving, wealth creation,
Sure.
it can actually morph into a personal bias as success grows.
So you're saying success can almost become a trap.
In a way, yeah, it's what they call the comfort trap.
Okay.
So as a business achieves those initial goals,
Mm-hmm.
founders might start prioritizing their own comfort,
Right.
their ego,
Yeah.
over the long-term needs of the company.
So what does that look like?
Right.
Like, give me an example.
Yeah, sure. So imagine a founder who's avoiding
Oh,
making those tough decisions
right.
that could disrupt the status quo, even if they're necessary for growth.
Mhm.
Or maybe a founder who's clinging to, familiar ways of doing things,
Right.
resisting innovation
Yeah.
that could really propel the company forward.
Right.
So it's those kinds of things that really show how the comfort trap, can really stifle a company. It's
Yeah.
like a plant outgrowing its pot.
Okay.
It needs more room to thrive.
So how does a founder escape this trap?
Right.
How do they make that transition from being at the center of it all to building something
Yeah.
that can actually function and thrive without them?
It's a mindset shift.
Okay.
It's going from seeing the business as like an extension of yourself to seeing it as its own entity with its own potential.
Got it.
And the source material uses this really interesting image
Okay.
to kind of drive this point home.
Okay.
They say, imagine walking into your company
Yeah.
and being treated as a guest.
Wow, that's
Right.
a powerful image.
It is,
Yeah.
because it suggests that you're not, in the weeds anymore. You're not micromanaging every little thing.
It can run without you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about empowering your team.
Okay.
developing strong leadership, and creating systems
Okay.
that allow the business to function smoothly.
So you're taking yourself out of the equation.
You're stepping back.
Okay.
You're letting the systems do the work.
So this legacy-driven entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
it's not about just abandoning your ambition.
No, not at all.
Right.
It's about expanding it.
Okay.
It's about realizing that true success
Yeah.
is creating something that outlasts you, something that makes a real impact on the world.
That leads to impact beyond profit.
Yeah,
Which is something else they talk about in this material.
absolutely.
It's how important that is.
Legacy-driven businesses,
Yeah.
they prioritize the long-term impact
Sure.
on employees, on customers, on society as a whole.
Right. So it's not just about, the bottom line.
No, it's about creating value
Yeah.
that ripples outward.
I mean, do we see examples of this?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The source material talks about companies that invest in their employees' well-being.
Okay.
They prioritize ethical sourcing and sustainability. They actively contribute to their communities.
So they're really thinking about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these companies, they tend to attract top talent. They
Okay.
foster stronger customer loyalty.
Great. It makes sense.
And ultimately, they have a more positive impact.
It's about building a business with a conscience.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
I like that.
One that operates ethically, sustainably, contributes to a greater good.
And that's really the key. That's what sets it apart.
So for someone listening right now,
Yeah,
how do they even begin to make this shift?
right.
How do they go from being the center of the universe
Yeah.
to being part of something bigger?
It starts with asking yourself some tough questions.
Okay, like what?
Are you making decisions that just prioritize? Yeah.
Short-term gain.
Okay.
Or are you thinking about the long term?
Mm-hmm.
Are you empowering your team to really contribute?
Okay.
Or are you holding on too tight?
These are some really, big questions.
Yeah.
So it sounds like one of the most challenging things about all of this is humility.
Humility is huge.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Because you have to let go of control.
Right?
You have to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers.
Exactly.
You have to be open to other people's contributions.
It requires you to step back from that ego.
Right?
And embrace the collective wisdom.
Mm-hmm. So that's really where you shift from intention to legacy.
That's where the shift happens.
Yeah.
It's realizing that your ego, powerful driving force in the beginning can really become a roadblock when you're trying to build something bigger than yourself.
And our source material puts it so well.
Yeah.
It says, intentional entrepreneurship is a sharp tool.
Valuable as long as it slices ego and sharpens humility along the way.
I love that quote.
Right.
Yeah.
It really highlights that inherent tension
Yeah.
in entrepreneurship,
It's true.
because that drive that makes you want to innovate and push boundaries
Yeah.
can also lead to you being super focused on just your own personal achievement.
Absolutely. You can get tunnel vision and lose sight of the bigger picture.
So self-awareness is key.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Got to be checking yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Asking yourself, is this decision, serving my ego,
Okay.
or is it serving the company?
Right. It's like a constant balancing act
It is.
between your ambition and humility
Finding that sweet spot.
and this journey from me to we.
Yeah,
It really requires you to kind of let go,
it does.
right? To trust
Trust your team.
your team, to embrace that collective wisdom.
It's about building something bigger than yourself.
So to wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one thought.
Okay.
Imagine your business could talk.
Oh, okay.
What story would it tell
Interesting.
about the legacy you're building?
Would it be about you,
Right.
or would it be about something much greater?
That's the question every entrepreneur should ask.
Powerful stuff.
Thanks for joining us
Thanks for having me.
on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.